Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about the Kurdish and Armenian populations of the Ottoman Empire and their experiences of late Ottoman rule. Kurds, usually organized into tribes, mostly inhabited the mountains of eastern Anatolia, as well as northern Syria and Iraq, far from Istanbul. They had long played an important role in the Ottoman Empire, being particularly known for their military prowess and their skills on horseback. Even so, many Ottoman officials disparagingly referred to Kurds as "mountain Turks" and refused to acknowledge their separate identity. During the Tanzimat period, there briefly existed a Kurdistan administrative region, but this was erased as administrative boundaries were reformulated. An important event in the formation of modern Kurdish nationalism and national identity was the rebellion of Sheikh Ubaydullah, a powerful landowner and descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, in 1880. The Russo-Turkish War, which had swept through the Kurdish lands 2 years prior, had left a power vacuum in the region. Ubaydullah sought to impose his authority and bring order to the area, and in doing so to create an independent Kurdish state. "We are a nation apart. We want our affairs to be in our hands," he wrote. Ubaydullah was able to rally a number of Kurdish tribes around his command and to earn the reputation as leader of the Kurds. He also received the support of the local Christian people of the region. His downfall came when he attacked Iran, aiming to free the Kurdish people there, an endeavor in which he was defeated. Retreating back to the Ottoman Empire, his bedraggled forces were then assaulted by Ottoman troops, to whom he surrendered in 1881. The sheikh was then exiled to Mecca, where he died in 1883. The Kurdish tribes returned to their previous existence, largely as tribal raiders who often attacked villages in the area. Kurdish nationalism remained a controversial or unfamiliar concept for many Kurds until the First World War. Kurdish intellectuals worked with rebellious Turks, for example by joining the Young Turk movement. Educated Kurds from Istanbul sought greater political autonomy within the confines of the Ottoman Empire, an autonomy that did not rest solely on ethnic grounds. The protection of the tribal system was considered important, earning the Kurds scorn from the more westernized Young Turks. Loyalty to the Sultan and the Caliphate was often given due to Islamist concerns. Tribal chieftains in the Kurd lands themselves had more immediate economic reasons for their petitions to the central government. Even so, some Kurdish intellectuals dreamt of a national awakening for their people. Following the restoration of the Ottoman Constitution and the supremacy of the Young Turks in 1908, the Kurdish Society for Cooperation and Progress was founded in Istanbul, which had a Kurdish population of about 30,000. The announcement declaring the establishment of the society, built along the format of a European organization, was backed by 500 leading Kurdish intellectuals and statesmen. The society published a newspaper, the first legal Kurdish publication, which debated issues surrounding history, language, and Kurdish national identity. The society called for a political, economic, and social awakening of Kurdistan. Along these lines, a Kurdish language school for children was founded in Istanbul. Membership of the society grew very fast in cities and towns with large Kurdish populations. It was closed down in 1909 and would not re-emerge until 1917 as the Society for the Elevation of Kurdistan. Even after the closure of their society, educated Kurds travelled east to preach either separation or cooperation with the Ottoman government to their people. Armenians are incredibly proud of their own history, with Armenian settlements existing in eastern Anatolia and the Caucasus at least since the time of the Roman Empire, who fought against them in numerous wars. Armenians were also one of the first people in the world to convert to the teachings of Jesus Christ and his disciples, aka Christianity. Following the establishment of the Ottoman Empire, the Armenian community in Istanbul flourished, with many of its members becoming wealthy and respected. The Armenian peasants of eastern Anatolia, however, continued to endure a harder existence, often victimized in the conflicts of the region or targeted by Kurdish raiding parties. During the Tanzimat period, in 1863, a special Armenian constitution was recognized by the Ottoman government. This constitution was designed as a way to protest the attacks of the Kurds upon Armenians in the empire, and as a result was supported by the Sultan whenever he wished to take action against the Kurds, and was ignored when relations between the Turks and the Kurds were amiable. The 150 articles of the constitution, drafted by Armenian intellectuals, defined the condition of Armenians within the empire and established an Armenian National Assembly. Overall, the constitution was significant in that it attempted to define Armenia as a modern political nation. After the Russo-Turkish War of 1877–78, in which Russian Armenians had taken part, Russia insisted in the Treaty of San Stefano that reforms be carried out among the Sultan's Armenian subjects and that their protection against the Kurds be guaranteed, or else Russia would continue to occupy Turkish Armenia. This demand was softened at the Congress of Berlin, at which an Armenian delegation attended, but the Armenian question remained a factor in international politics, with Great Britain taking on the role of the Ottoman's protector until the end of the century. The Armenian Socialist Bel Party was founded in 1887, and the more nationalist Confederacy Party, whose members were commonly called Dashnaks, in 1890. The growing attempts by the Armenians in the Ottoman Empire to receive equal treatment, such as the right to sit on a jury, angered the Sultan, who saw the Armenians as European puppets being manipulated by the great powers to undermine Islam. "May they be cursed by God," muttered Sultan Abdul Hamid upon hearing of the Armenian delegation to the Berlin Congress. He also referred to the Armenians as cowards who hid behind the might of the great powers. Clashes grew more frequent in eastern Anatolia, especially with the Kurds. A small Armenian expedition invaded the area from Russia in 1890, and in the Armenian quarter of Istanbul that year, Armenians attacked their own leaders to press them into earning reforms from the Sultan. In 1894, following a tax increase, as well as rumors that Sultan Abdulhamid was planning on instituting anti-Armenian policies, secret Armenian organizations began arming Armenians with weapons. In the town of Sassoon, Armenians began to openly fight Ottoman forces. This revolt was crushed, following which a promised amnesty was not forthcoming, and both the combatants and the Armenian civilians in the town were massacred. Massacres subsequently spread to other parts of eastern Anatolia, being perpetrated by Ottoman troops and Kurds armed by the Sultan. These massacres lasted for 2 years. In some places, such as the city of Van, the Armenians fought back, but they were overwhelmed every time that they did so. Massacres also occurred in Istanbul following the takeover of the Ottoman National Bank building by desperate Armenian revolutionaries. Estimates of the total number of dead vary, but the number is most likely somewhere in the 100,000 mark. The Armenians' traditional ally, the Russian Empire, was by now unsympathetic to their plight. Russian foreign policy now looked to secure the Ottoman Empire. Moreover, the Armenians within the Russian Empire were at the time being subjected to a mass policy of Russification, as symbolized by the closure of their independent church in 1903. The Armenian cause was taken up instead in the UK, France and US. In London, Prime Minister and Liberal leader Gladstone called the Sultan the Great Criminal and the Red Sultan. The massacre of the Armenians and other Christians did much to break down relations between the Ottomans and their traditional British ally, pushing the Ottomans closer to an alliance with Germany. The international outrage that the massacres inspired also led to Sultan Abdulhamid taking efforts to cover up and prevent information from leaving his country by, for example, censoring US journalists. The Dashnaks then planned an assassination attempt on the Sultan himself. They secretly started organizing the attempt and producing bombs in nearby Bulgaria. The bomb was planted outside of the Sultan's mosque, in 1905, killing 26 and wounding 58, but not the Sultan himself, who had not left the mosque at the usual time due to being caught in a conversation. A period of further repression against the Armenians followed until the overthrow of the Sultan in 1808–09. The Young Turk Revolution brought with it hopes that the situation of the Armenians would improve, particularly as Armenians received a number of seats in the new Ottoman parliament. The so-called Armenian Reform Package was a plan devised by the European powers in 1912 that envisioned the creation of two provinces in Turkish Armenia placed under the supervision of European inspectors who would be appointed to oversee matters related to Armenian issues. The inspectors, whose remit was based around promises of upholding Armenian rights made in 1878, would hold the highest position in the 6 eastern provinces, where the bulk of the Armenian population lived, and would reside in Erzurum and Van. Although the plan was designed as a way to protect the Armenians, it was also seen as a way of countering growing German influence within the Ottoman Empire, and as a result was bitterly resented by the Germans. The reform package was signed into law on February 8, 1914, through an agreement with Russia and the Ottoman government, though it was abolished on December 16, 1914, several weeks after Turkey's entry into World War I. When war with Russia did break out, the Young Turk government feared that the Armenian population of eastern Anatolia would work with the invading Russians as guerrilla soldiers. On the one hand, Armenian volunteers did serve with the Russian army. However, many Armenians also made declarations of loyalty towards the Ottoman regime. They thus embarked upon a mad plan. The regime, that is, embarked upon a mad plan to deport the whole Armenian population of about 1.75 million to Syria and Iraq. In an event that would later be known as the Armenian Genocide, hundreds of thousands of Armenians were driven from their homes, massacred or marched until they died. The death toll of Armenians in Ottoman Turkey during this period has been estimated at between 600,000 and 1.5 million. Tens of thousands emigrated to Russia, France, and the United States, and the western part of the historic homeland of the Armenian people was emptied of Armenians forever. The Armenian state that was to re-emerge in 1920 and 1990 was to be a rump state made up of only the small Russian, and Soviet areas of Armenia.